So welcome everybody. Thanks for coming to our Thomas McPherson Stormwater project. This is an update to the stormwater work and water work going on within the Point Breeze North neighborhood. We have a pretty small group on the call, about 17 or so. So I'd like to just keep it interactive. This is about the 5th time that we've met with you guys. So feel free to interrupt throughout the meeting if you have any questions or need clarifications on anything. So let me know if you can see the slide advancing. Just want to make sure you're looking at the right screen. All right. So again, tonight we'll start with just welcoming all of you guys. Thanks for coming. We have a pretty small group here, so we'll try to keep it interactive and conversational. Today's purpose is to go over the Thomas McPherson project, so we'll walk through the project overview. If there are people who have, this is your first time attending one of these meetings, we will go through the project overview to bring you up to speed, but hopefully you are aware of the project and have been seeing the construction going on last year and are aware of what will be going on this year. So we'll be providing a brief overview, some construction updates on what to expect this year, what the sequence is, and just general expectations. And then we'll open it up into a more formal Q&A. So throughout the meeting, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat function. You should have a black bar and there's a bubble icon that has chat. So feel free to put any questions or comments you have in there throughout the meeting. We'll be monitoring and make sure that we answer all of your questions. This meeting is being recorded, so we will be posting it up on our website. So you can come back to it and or refer other neighbors to take a look at the meeting recording. So for a brief overview, this is a Thomas McPherson stormwater project. It is within the 842 sewer shed, and that just signifies it's with the Allegheny, and it's a 42nd outfall on the Allegheny River. So all the stormwater flows in your sanitary sewer flows run underground in a pipe that either makes it to the water treatment plant, or during rainy days, there may be some overflows into the Allegheny River. Given that the city of Pittsburgh is an old city and we have one pipe that conveys all the stormwater and sanitary flows, oftentimes it is undersized, and during wet weather events, rainy days such as today, we do have discharge getting into the river before there's a chance for it to be cleaned. So we've been implementing stormwater projects throughout the city to be able to capture the stormwater when it falls, where it falls, to detain it and slowly release it back into the sewer system when there is sufficient capacity to reduce the amount of sewer overflows that are occurring. So this is one of the projects. On the screen, you'll see we have several different areas that we're working within. So on Thomas Boulevard, there is gravel storage and pipe storage underneath the medians, along with that same type of infrastructure being put in McPherson Boulevard. On North Linden Avenue and Dallas Avenue, we also are putting in some small stormwater infrastructure underground to help detain some of the runoff coming off of the streets and the homes. And likewise, Starling Way, we noted as an opportunity to enhance and capture a lot of stormwater runoff. And we noticed there were a lot of homes that were just discharging their roof leaders into the street. So that provided an opportunity for us to pick up that stormwater. So early on when we were designing this project for the stormwater purposes, we noticed that the water line on McPherson Boulevard was undersized, and there were historic records indicating that there may be lead service lines on that street. So we took that as an opportunity to roll in water improvements into this project. So in addition to the water work or the stormwater, there's also water improvements going on, mainly on McPherson Boulevard. So what does the storage look like? This picture on the left is actually from phase one, the construction that occurred last year on Thomas Boulevard. So you can see within the median, we have excavated and we've installed a liner, some gravel, and some pipes within the median. And that's really going to help with, as you know, during wet weather events, water is going to enter the catch basins, but then be directed into these systems here. So this will allow us to capture the water, hold it until there is enough capacity in the sewer system to drain it back in. This is a rendering of what can be expected on Linden Boulevard, on Linden Avenue, sorry. So again, early on during the planning phases, we had several different suggestions of what this could look like. And we heard from the neighbors that you really preferred one to keep all of your parking. So no bump outs, no rain gardens, because parking was of big importance. So we decided to go with underground storage here again, and just keeping the storage within the parking lanes. On the surface, to be able to help with some of the traffic calming, which is one of the things we heard early on, we've decided to put in permeable pavers. So it gives the illusion of a slimmer road, but it's the same road with, it'll just be able to distinguish where the parking lane is in the road. And underneath those, the permeable pavers will be these storage tanks. So water will be entering through the void space within the pavers and then entering the system into the gravel and the pipes below. On North Dallas Avenue, we will also be having some stormwater detention within the parking lanes. However, on this one, it will look on the surface just like traditional pavement. Water will be entering these systems through the catch basins. So early on when we were going through the planning phase, we heard that you guys want to kind of see what the technologies are to see which ones is something that the neighborhood likes best, so that in the future we can kind of select one or the other. So that's why we have the pavers on Linden and then the traditional asphalt on top on Dallas Avenue. On Starling Way, given that it is an alley, currently the road is in pretty rough shape, and there's a lot of ponding on the surface. So what we've decided to do here with input from the community was the below the road itself, we will be having storage. And we're gonna have permeable pavers in the middle of the road so that as water runs off of your property, off the road, it will slope down to the middle and water can enter the storage system through these permeable pavers. From the gravel and pipes that will be underground to detain this, it'll then enter the sewer system. So this should, one, it will be helping reduce the combined sewer overflows, but it will also be helping reduce the ponding that is going on the road and leading to a lot of the unraveling and potholes that you're seeing. So as I mentioned, along with this project, early on we identified that there were some water infrastructure improvements that could be made. So we did wrap that into this project. So what that looks like is we will be replacing the water main on McPherson Boulevard for the 67 and 6800 blocks. So that's between 5th Avenue and North Dallas Avenue. On North Linden Avenue, we will be going up the block. So there are a few homes along that side that will also be replacing the water line and the service lines for. So everywhere that we are replacing the water main, we will also be replacing the service lines and reconnecting you to the new water line. As part of this process, we will be doing verifications to see if there are any lead service lines. If there are, then PWSA will be replacing the both public and private lead service lines on McPherson in North Linden Avenue. So in total, that we're looking at 71 homes that are impacted by this, and we have about 1,900 feet of water main that will be replaced. So lead service line replacement. We have some slides here to kind of talk about what that process is, what it looks like. So this picture here is a good illustration for what it looks like. The water main is typically out in the road, and from the road to the curb box, which is typically within the sidewalk. This, not sure if you can see my cursor, but there's this round thing in sidewalk. That's typically where curb boxes are. From the curb box to the water main, that section of service line is what we refer to as public. From the curb box to the house, that service line is a private service line. So as we go through the water main replacement, if we see that you have a lead service line, PWSA will be replacing that. But in order to do that, we do need agreements to be signed to give us permission to do the lead service line replacement. So those agreements have actually been sent out, and you should be seeing our crews out there within the past couple of weeks starting those verifications to identify what the material of that service line, both in the public and private side, are. So if you receive one of those agreements, please get that back to us, and we can kind of move forward with this process. So the steps for what the lead service line replacement is, one, we will, like I mentioned, verify the material of the service line. So if the private service line is not lead, then no further action is required. We will move forward with replacing the water line, the public service line, and then reconnecting it to the curb box and to your existing private service line. However, if we verify the material and it turns out to be lead or galvanized iron, then PWSA will replace the private service line in addition to the public service line. So as we go through this process, we typically start with replacing the water main within the road first, and then we will connect the individual service lines to the water main. And throughout this whole process during construction and while we do the testing of the water line, you will maintain your water service through the current existing water line. That isn't disconnected until all the work is complete and we can transition you over. And as part of this work, we do within the same contract have all the restoration will be covered. So the nice thing is, unlike some of our other contracts, we have a different contractor who will do the replacement and somebody else comes in to do the restoration. For this one, it's all the same contractor. So hopefully it won't be long after the water line is in place and your service lines are replaced that we will be doing the restoration. And that will include restoring the roads, the sidewalks, and any other areas that may be disrupted during this process. So the PWSA policy, like I mentioned, our policy is that PWSA does, if we're replacing a water line, we do replace both the public and private service lines at no cost to the homeowner. However, we do need that signed agreement if you do have lead service lines. So we have sent out those agreements and we will follow up with you once we verify the material of your service line. We'll let you know what the material is and if further action is needed. If we do not get the service or the signed agreement back, we can't complete the work. So we do try several times to reach out to the homeowner, or if it's a tenant, we'll kind of work with you to try to get a hold of the property owner to get permission to replace the service line. If the property owner does not provide a signed agreement to us, then PWSA is required by the Pennsylvania Utility Commission to terminate the water service. But like I mentioned, that we do have several different communication touch base points where we try to reach out to you to make sure that you're aware of this work and get that agreement over to us before we resort to turning off your water. In the event that we don't receive a signed agreement, we will we do terminate the water service at that house, and we aren't allowed to turn the water back on until we have verification that the property owner has replaced the service line to a material that is not lead. So it would have to be PEX or copper. And if you do that after we've come through, that will be at your own cost. So please just be mindful of getting those agreements to us and or asking us questions so that we can kind of work with you throughout this process. So the way that this private property restoration policy works is as we go through this lead service line replacement, there are several ways that a service line can be replaced, and most of them are very they're not invasive. So it's something that we can do without having to do a lot of digging. There are options, and our PWSA does have field liaisons. So if we've identified your house as having lead service line, we will set up a coordination meeting that consists of the homeowner and or their named representative, which is listed on the agreement, PWSA lead liaison, and a representative from the contractor. So we'll schedule this meeting for all three parties to meet. And what we typically do is we'll go to your house and we will inspect the area. We try to find where the water line comes into your home to the meter, and talk about what type of replacement strategy you'd like to move forward with. And then at that meeting, we'll also talk about, if when the replacement will happen, what areas will be disrupted with that work, what PWSA's responsibility will be to replace at the end of the day, and what the homeowner is responsible for. So that coordination is a really good meeting to kind of talk about what will be restored and make sure that we're all clear before any work starts. So those are the lead service line, kind of the way that works. So in terms of updates for the construction and what to expect, there is this graphic up on the screen. So you can see there are different bubbles, and each bubble is a different phase. So phase A is in red, and that's the red line that is on Thomas Boulevard. That work was completed last year from August and was completed in December. So that has been done. This year, what we're going to be focusing on is phases B through E. And that schedule is down here. So we're estimating phase B, which is the water work and the stormwater work on McPherson Boulevard, to start March 1st. And that first block we're estimating to go through May. And so these are all estimated dates based off of our contractor. They are tentative and they are likely to change depending on the field conditions and how construction progresses. So we will be providing updates as we move forward, just so that you're aware of what's going on. So once we finish on that first block from McPherson, we will move on to the second block of McPherson to get the stormwater and water work completed. From there, we will move forward to the stormwater and water work on North Linden Avenue. That will be followed by Starling Way sometime in July. And an important thing to note is while we're working in each of these phases, there will be road detours, just given that it is an active construction site. So we will be posting signs to notify you, but just please be aware that there will be road closures here. And I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with kind of the phase that occurred last year with Thomas Boulevard. So we will be having both sides of the road closed. It'll be look very similar to that, but at the end of the day, once the project is completed, we will be cleaning up and restoring to the existing conditions. So the typical work schedule will be Monday through Thursday. Friday is a makeup day for our contractor. So if there is rain or any delays Monday through Thursday, they will be working Friday. And the normal hours are typically from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. As I mentioned, we will be having traffic signs and detours up to notify you and let you know what roads are closed and where you can or can't go. If we have active construction work going on, we will have flaggers redirecting people just so that we make sure everybody is safe. And then while we do the work on Starling Way, because there is only one way in and out, that road will be temporarily closed throughout the duration of that construction, which I believe is about a month. So that's just something to know. I know there are a lot of garages and a lot of homeowners park back there, so that'll be something to be mindful of. Parking signs, we will be posting 48 hours in advance if you know, whenever that road is going to be closed down for construction. Posted areas where active construction work is taking place, and at the end of the day, no parking will be lost. All of the work that is going on will be underground, and once we are completed with the project, you will have all your parking. I know that was a big concern we heard. So we have been working, and I saw a few questions pop up in the chat, so let me take a pause here and see if there are anything that came up. So the first one, will you replace private lead service line for all projects with no charge to homeowners? Yeah, so if PWSA finds lead service lines, we will be replacing them as long as we have a signed agreement in place. So be mindful, if you've gotten that agreement, please reach out to us if you have any questions. But once we do the verification, we will be notifying the homeowner what your material is. And if it is lead or galvanized iron, we will be replacing the public and private at no cost to the homeowner. Just we do need that agreement in place first. There are a lot of trees on these roads and they were not cared for well. Will their involvement in this project be considered? So we'll pause. I won't answer that question because we do have a few slides on tree protection. So hopefully we'll answer your concern there. And if not, we can have a discussion after. Sounds like somebody said, yes, the forestry division has assured the community that provisions will be made for avoiding these problems. Okay, in the second phase. I'm wondering if PWSA is aware of these provisions and can describe them. Yes, so that is a good segue into the next part of the presentation, the tree protection. So we have been working with the city forestry to make sure that we're following all tree protection protocols. So what you see is the picture up here is from phase one, and we did work with city forestry to make sure, you know, any material within the medians and or sidewalks. I know there are a lot of sidewalk trees were cared for. So we did end up pruning some trees just to make sure that as we move equipment in and out, we aren't damaging any branches that are low hanging. We will be putting up construction fences around the trees to protect them. And the distance they are placed at is dictated by city forestry. So we have been working with Michael Kelly, city forestry, and he's been out there making sure that, you know, when we put these provisions up, that they are to his standard. For phase one on Thomas Boulevard, I know we started off by not having these tree fences up first. So that is something that we will be working with the city forestry to make sure all of those protections are up in place before we get started with construction. The city forester has also given us permission to stockpile some of our material during construction on site. So all the locations you see material laying around have been approved. And Michael Kelly is, he is available. So if you have any questions or concerns of where we are placing stuff, you're more than welcome to contact him, but he does come out to the site once a week at least to make sure we are following protocols. So some of those protocols, we're just making sure that we aren't placing any heavy material underneath the drip line of the trees. So the drip line is like the canopy area. So just making sure we're not impacting any of the roots. And we will, again, be having tree protection go up on the entire site before any of the construction or excavation starts. So hopefully that answers some of your tree questions. If there are any others, feel free to jump in and ask them. So on McPherson Boulevard, this is between 5th Avenue and Linden Avenue. This is our work area. We'll be working mainly within that first median closest to 5th Ave. And so the what you see highlighted in green are the trees that will be impacted. So we will have the fencing up around those trees. This square box here is a location that City Forestry has given us permission to stockpile. And then these hashes are roughly where the underground storage is going to go. On the median closest to North Linden Avenue, we will be impacting the western end of that. So 2 trees there will be close to our project, and we will be having fencing around that. And then the 3 trees that you see an X on, those were trees that when we started construction on Thomas Boulevard, we did a site walk with Michael Kelly, the city forestry, and he noted that those trees were in really bad condition, and he asked us to remove those. So those have actually already been removed. They were removed last year as part of construction. On McPherson Boulevard East, the 6800 block, the median we will be working on is closest to Dallas Avenue. So we will be having tree protection up around those trees. And we did get permission, or we will be having some stuff being stockpiled or have pumped water bags in the other median, just so you're aware of that. So communication, we will be posting bi-weekly construction updates on our webpage. So if you go onto our website, pgh20.com/Thomas-and-McPherson, you'll get to our project webpage, and we will be having updates there. So as we get are done with one phase and move on to the next, we'll be including that there, so you can kind of see where we are within the construction phase and what you can expect next. We also at the bottom of that page have a little location where you can enter your information. So if you wanted to get updates, we could email those as well. And you'll be notified anytime we have a community meeting or any other meetings coming up. And so with that, that concludes the formal presentation. So we'll open it up to any questions, but I just want to kind of go through and name some of the people on our project team. So Elaine Hinrichs is our communications manager, so you'll be getting emails from her if you've signed up. Rashid Tunde is our construction project manager, so he'll be the PWSA representative out on the field that you'll likely see. I am the project manager from the design side, and Ben Sculo is our construction manager. So he'll be the one overseeing the contractors and being our representative. But with that, I see a hand up.
Hi, it's Heather Jennings. Can I ask a question now?
Yes.
So I'm at 6955 Thomas. I am, my house backs up onto Starling. I'm one lot away from Westinghouse Park. And this is the first time I've been on a meeting, so very comprehensive. Thank you so much. I really appreciate what's happening. And but I'm curious, why are you not looking to remediate the lead, potential lead on our area?
So when we started this project, we were further down the design of the storm water, and we realized that on McPherson Boulevard, they had undersized water mains. So we saw that as an opportunity to upgrade and bring them up to the standard that we have for water mains. Thomas Boulevard, you guys, your water line is adequately sized. So right now, since there is no issue, we're focusing on bringing all of our water mains up to speed. And, our historic records showed higher numbers of lead service lines within that section. So that's how that was prioritized. So unfortunately right now
is that we've tried to get, we've done a lot of renovation on our house, and we've tried to connect our gutters to the system, and it simply overflows. It does not receive our rainwater. So what do you recommend about that?
So to the system, you mean so you've disconnected it from the sewer system?
No, we haven't. We've tried to connect it as we were told to do. We were told we couldn't have rain barrels. So we simply, we've tried to connect our, the house needed a lot of renovation. So we basically reconnected everything to the system, and it just overflows. It doesn't receive it.
So you can, depending on how your house is formatted, with Starling Way being renovated, if there's any way you can run your roof drains to the back onto Starling Way, that is designed to capture the stormwater runoff. So I'm not sure if that's possible. Or you can always contact me offline, and we can kind of talk about some other options that you may have.
Thanks. Appreciate that. That answers my questions. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you. I see Patrick Jordan.
Hi, how you doing? I actually live on Mead Place, right at the end of it, right around the corner. And I think we had mentioned on one of the last meetings that potentially you guys were going to be doing the lead line replacement program on Mead Place as well. Just wondering if that's still in the works for later on in the year.
So as part of this Thomas McPherson project, we will only be focusing on McPherson, but there are other PWSA water projects going on. So I don't know if Maura is still on and can talk to the work on Mead Place.
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hi.
If I do remember correctly, I believe Mead Place is part of our 2021 annual water main replacement contract that got a little bit delayed, so it's kicking off this year instead. Just double check that. Regardless, yes, that should be happening this year. I can't say right now exactly when it'll start. We have a couple locations. I think we're going to be starting in Lawrenceville, Highland Park, and one other location to start in the next couple months. And I would anticipate that your area will be sometime after that. So as we get closer to that construction, I'll probably be back out in the community having a meeting about those specific water main replacements.
Great, thanks. One other quick question. It's kind of off topic, and I'm wondering if you guys could just shoot me a phone number to call. My next door neighbor has a leak going out to the main line on Mead Place, and she's been having a lot of trouble figuring out what to do to fix it because the street has been pretty much damaged, and because it's a private drive, I guess that PSWA isn't going to fix it. So she's just not sure what to tell whoever's going to fix it to do it correctly, so they don't pour a bunch of concrete in the wrong place and screw up everything else.
If you would like to reach out to me, I can look into that. I can just put my information in the chat.
That'd be wonderful.
Reach out.
Great, thank you so much. And thanks for doing these meetings. This is great.
And And I saw one other follow-up question within the chat, so let me answer that first. So in the first phase, we did have a lot of complaints of heavy equipment and vehicles parked under the drip lines of the trees and or clippings that weren't taken care of as directed by city forestry. So we do apologize for that. We have had since then a meeting with our contractors and city forestry. So we've kind of talked through what the requirements are. So in this phase, we will be working more closely and making sure everything's followed. But in terms of who you can contact, if you're seeing something out there that isn't being followed, you can reach out to any of these emails on that you see on the screen, the project contacts. Myself, Anna Bennett, and Vince, we can kind of coordinate and make sure that a contractor is following the standard, but also city forestry. You can call them directly, and they do have a line. I'll have to look it up and send it in the chat, but Michael Kelly, any complaints that come from this project, he's been the person going out to get eyes on what's going on and make sure it's being followed. So I'll follow back and provide city forestry line as well. So with that, I see another hand up. Is it Arnav?
Yep, that's it. Thank you for doing this project and for holding this meeting. I'm on McPherson, and I just had a simple question, which is, I know that my private water line is lead as well, and I'm interested in the replacement that you all are offering for the private line as well. Where can I find the forms that need to be submitted to make that happen so I can send those to my landlord?
So the forms were mailed out earlier this month. So whoever is listed as a property owner should have received that. It would have gone directly to them. So if you don't mind sending me an email, I can double check your property address and see if we've received a signed agreement with them or if we need a follow through and see what other actions we can take.
Perfect. I'll email you then, Anna. Thank you again.
Thank you. 6902 McPherson. That's
Yeah.
Josh.
Right. Okay, hi, Ann. This is Jeff Gray. And on the map that was sent to me for an easement agreement, I noticed that on the 6900 block side of that map, particularly in front of my house, coming right off that corner of Dallas and McPherson, there is a disclosure of a 15-inch PVC line. And I don't know if that line means you're going to dig in the front of the house, or do you know what reference that might be for?
I would have to take a look at that specific drawing to see what you're talking about. But typically on our drawings, we show all of the existing utilities that are underground, just so that when construction is happening, our contractors are aware of what else is underground to make sure we don't hit it. So I can take a look, but from your easement, the only things that will be impacting near your property will be that ADA ramp that is being replaced, right, and then the work within Starling Way.
Right.
Okay. But I can double check and email you back, kind of to make sure that to just.
Well, the only reason, because I've been in the house for 25 years, and I don't know when PWSA or other entities began using PVC. And the house was built in 1920 as the Westinghouse Park plan. So I doubt they had PVC then. So when I saw the 15-inch PVC pipe, I kind of said to myself logically, no one has put PVC underground in the last 30 years over here. So when I saw it, it appeared to be something new, unless I'm completely wrong. Maybe they were doing PVC in the 50s, I don't know.
Yeah, I would have to circle back, but I can take a look at that plan and give you a call separately or email to make sure we're looking at the same thing.
Right, appreciate it.
Yep.
Yep.
I guess with that, are there any other questions or comments out there? Great. Without hearing anything, yes, thank you all for attending. We will keep you posted as the construction progresses. We just want to touch base with you guys before we started construction again. I'm sure you've seen our crews out there looking at doing the verifications on the service lines, but we will be starting construction March 1st. So if you have any questions, feel free to email myself or any of the emails you see up here on the slide. We do have the project page. So if you aren't on our email listserv yet, feel free to sign up and we will be sending updates. I just saw another question come through. Is there a way to confirm our lead line forms were received? I don't know if Maura is on or Bianca, if you guys could answer that.
I was gonna say, if Bianca's still on, she might be able to confirm that.
Yes. After if you sent it in and you want to confirm it, you can always call the lead help desk and we can let you know if we had received it or not. Keeping in mind the office is closed and everyone's working from home, but we do have people that come in once or twice a week to get the mail. So just be mindful that it would take maybe a couple extra days from when you sent it, because we only get the mail twice a week. And then we process it. But yes, after that point, once we've entered it into the system, calling the lead help desk, and we can drop the phone number in the chat so that everybody has it. But we, lead help associate would be able to tell you if it's been accepted yet.
Thank you. Then within the chat, I dropped the Thomas and McPherson project page. So if you would like to sign up for email list to get updates, at the bottom of that webpage, you can sign up, put your email, and we'll be providing updates. Also, feel free to check back periodically on that webpage. We will be updating it as we move forward with construction, just letting you know how much of it is completed and what you can expect. So you can kind of see as we move through the phases. I also put in the city forestry number there in case you guys want to call, but hopefully our contractors will be working closely to make sure that we're following all the rules. And Bianca did just drop the lead help desk number. So if you want to confirm or make sure we've received your agreement or have any other questions, that's the number you can call. And then I see Patrick Jordan, you have your hand up. I'm not sure if that's from before or if there's a new question.
That's from before. Sorry, I got to take it down. Thank you.
No problem. All right. Well,
Somebody had,
yep. Go ahead.
It's Bianca. Somebody had asked a question about a tenant asked a question about getting the agreement. Just so that anyone who's in this meeting, when we mailed out the agreement, if we knew if there was a known tenant landlord situation, we did mail out 2 packets for that property. So there should be one going to the property, and then if the owner address was different, it would have been mailed to the owner address that we had on file. That being said, anyone in the group now who is a tenant, you should have gotten a big white envelope from PWSA with a folder inside with all the information. The same thing would have been mailed to the owner address that we had, but we do that in case that owner address is not correct or the owner doesn't receive it. Then the tenant you can give that to your landlord because it's the exact same packet. Now, if you have not received, should have received it by now because those packets actually went out January 28th. So everyone should have gotten them by now. But if you don't recall anything fitting that description, like a big 10 by 13 white envelope with a red and blue folder inside from Pittsburgh or PGH2O, if you don't recall seeing anything like that in the past 2 weeks, then you can also call the Lead Help Desk. Of course, reaching out to Anna or Maura, but calling the Lead Help Desk, you can always request another agreement and we can either mail it or we can even email it at that point. But it's not something you can go on the website and just download, but we do have the ability to email it to people.
Great, thank you for that clarification. I see a question came in the chat saying, does PWSA have a working definition of what it means by green infrastructure? I understand there's quite a range of how cities define the term. Yes, and so PWSA, we use a definition that EPA uses. So we're looking at green infrastructure to mean anything that captures stormwater where it falls. The idea is to try to mimic the natural water environment. So trying to encourage infiltration if possible. But we know that that isn't possible everywhere, just depending on your location, your soils. But in terms of green infrastructure, we would consider any technology, whether it's vegetated or below ground. If it captures stormwater, detains it, and slowly releases it or encourages infiltration, we consider that green infrastructure. Great. Well, if we don't have any other questions, we'll let you guys get back to the rest of your evening. So thank you again for attending tonight's meeting. We will be posting this recording on our website, so feel free to go back there. And again, feel free to email us if you guys have any other questions that may pop up.
Yep, and I also dropped the Lead Help email in the chat as well. So for people, if it's more convenient to email us and ask us for an agreement or ask any questions, you can always email and we respond within 2 business days.
Great, thank you all. Have a good night, good evening.
All right, have a good night.